understood, I suppose most of us want to know the feeling. Is there anger? Is there frustration? Or is it?
The feeling has shifted a little bit. You know, I must say, largely just disappointment that we lose a really good person. Alan Richardson is a great operator. We enjoyed the role that he played here, and he did a great job. The reality is we weren't able to compete with the one thing that he really wanted, which was a shot at a senior role. He's never made any secret of that. The role that we had him in was a very significant role, but it's ultimately, clearly, not the ultimate role that he wanted, and he got that at St Kilda.
Because you can't, I suppose it's hard, you can't begrudge a man to go to that next level, really, though, can you?
I don't think you can. I guess what we've been talking about today with St Kilda is the lateness of this process, and I think that it's an industry issue that we'll probably discuss next week at the CEO's conference. You know, we are a week away from draft. We're well into our planning for 2014. The players arrive back next week, and we're trying to now think about replacing a director of coaching. We don't think that's good practice. We understand. You know, St Kilda understand that as well. They've been very cooperative today and sort of understand the issue. But to answer your question, no. In the end, he wanted that role, and he went for it.
Is there any talk about compensation and those sorts of things? Is that a realistic thing to ask for from St Kilda?
What they have offered to help pay some of the costs for replacing Alan, and we think that that's a reasonable gesture of goodwill. We've accepted that, and we move on.
What sort of figures that?
Look, that's private. It's we'll just leave that between us.
And the replacement for you, how do you go about it?
Well, we'll be advertising next week. We have a list of people. Our guys are really well connected. We know who's around. The unfortunate thing about this is that there's a flow-on effect. We're going to be affecting someone else's program, and we're not happy about that. But the situation leaves us with no choice.
I was going to say, on that note, you're forced to do that, aren't you? There's no other option. You're going to go out. You've got a pretty reasonable budget, I would have thought, to headhunt someone, and no one's off limits? We're going to be going to the best candidates, people who are willing to come to Port Adelaide, and that's going to affect the program. Now, we made that comment to the AFL today. I said this needs to be sorted out, and we will be discussing it next week.
You do you get someone in directly to replace him, or do you decide and bring someone in?
Well, anything's possible. What we did today was that we discussed, we move on pretty quickly, we discussed the needs of the footy department. We believe that we strengthened the program with the addition of Phil Walsh significantly. We know that Ken has grown in the role in the last 12 months, which is terrific. And so our needs are probably slightly different than they were this time last year. And we'll structure the role and the replacement around that.
Keith, you mentioned that you will advertise for it.
Yes.
And tipping that there's no one sitting at home without a job that you'd be looking at, so could mean disrupting other organisations. Is that what you're getting at?
It's quite possible, and you know, I don't know any way of avoiding it. That's the situation we're in, and what we have created in our minds is a very significant senior role in the footy club that was important to us. We need to replace that. That's the situation that, unfortunately, the St Kilda Footy Club and their process has put us into, and but we can't apologise for that. That's the way it is.
Is there a time frame you're working towards in that?
As quickly as possible.
You said the feelings are changing. Are you upset still, or are you accepting the decision?
We've moved on. Ken and I met with Alan throughout yesterday. We discussed the issues. I made it very clear to Alan that I don't think this is a good decision from our point of view, and I don't like the timing of it. But in regards to him and his ambition, it wasn't a surprise. And St Kilda have got a really good man, so I think you just have to suck it up and get on with it, and that's what we'll be doing.
Can I just ask you about the whole process? Because there was all the "no, I'm not interested." I think even when he sat in the room.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago, he said senior coaching was off the table at the grand, opening of the whole new team.
Yeah.
Do you have doubts that in the last 2 weeks he was telling out right 100% truth? Do you think there was a little bit of...
I think what was happening was that there was a lot of discussions going on behind the scenes with his manager, now you would expect that they would be talking, but I find it hard to believe that Alan at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night felt that he was a reasonable chance to get that job. I don't think that he would have gone on our website and made that decision. We actually questioned him. Are you sure this is right for you? So something happened that night, and I got a call at 11 o'clock on Tuesday night after Alan had spoken to Ken, and he said, look, the situation at St Kilda has firmed right up, and I think we need to be talking about it.
How have you addressed the issue of intellectual property in terms of draft is coming up next week? You're in preparations. Do you want him to be happy for him to start straight away?
It's a really good point. That was a part of the discussion today with St Kilda, was that we had in Alan's contract mechanisms to protect us around IP. Yes, and so we would. But the reality is that's quite impractical from St Kilda's point of view, as you can imagine. But the draft is a real issue, and so all that we could do is that I spoke to the CEO, I spoke to Alan. They gave me their word that there would be no sharing of information in regards to Port Adelaide's list priorities and St Kilda's. I can't do any better than that. You have to take these guys on face value, and we will. I know them both well. They've given me that word in good faith, and so that's the best we can do.
Richard can't unknow what he knows.
That's right.
How do you feel about it now? Do we need to move to a model of standardised contracts for coaches as well as players?
What we have to do is we have to get some standard understandings of where the cut-off points are. I think that coaching appointments pre-trade week are all well and good. If this had happened in September, October, we wouldn't have had any issues about releasing Alan. That's happened for a long time. It's a step up. But we wanted to make the point today that mid-November is too late for that to just assume that these decisions can be made and rolled on without consultation with the club that it's affecting. And that was what today was about.